We're going to have a look at harvesting our chilies today, and then also thinking about ways to preserve them, whether that be drying or freezing or using them up in recipes. The chilies that I've been growing this year in the polytunnel have interestingly not ripened as quick as the ones outside. So I think that's just due to the weather this year, although the ones outside aren't as heavily laden as the ones inside. So the ones inside are obviously putting on more growth before they do start to ripen as well. But they are now just starting to ripen in the polytunnel. I have also had to start harvesting ones outside just because we are now getting some attention from the mice or the rats, and they are nibbling halfway through. So I'm now starting to harvest them either as soon as they're turning or when they're green, if that's how I'm going to use them. So I've got them all the way in their completely green state, and then slightly blushing to halfway between green and red, and red. Now, one of the things I do want to point out here is that between going from green to red, these chilies may go brown. So don't worry about that. They may even go black. That's completely normal and part of the ripening process for them. And that can be different colours depending on varieties as well. The other thing to mention is once they do start to blush and you start seeing that colour change, they will continue to change colour and become red off of the plants. So you don't need to necessarily leave them on, and actually removing them can be helpful in the fact that it's going to allow the plant to put energy into the other chilies. And don't forget, you can harvest them green for different recipes as well, so that's not a problem at all. Out of the two plants that I had in the polytunnel, I only have this one remaining now, which is actually doing really well and has absolutely loads of chilies on it. So I'm really happy with that. And the reason is that I had a virus and an issue with the other plant, so I had that to remove that one. So back in here, we can see there's one starting to go brown. So this one will be ripening now. And then on the other side of the plant, I also have one here that is starting to ripen. However, the rest are pretty much completely green. When it comes to harvesting them, we literally just want to take a pair of scissors or a knife, and we're going to cut them at the top of the stalk and just clip them off. There we go. So that's that one that is starting to turn at the moment. That's all I'm actually going to harvest off of these ones today, because I want to let more of these go red. So this is the basket that I've got at the moment, and then at this point, once we have harvested them, we can just leave them in a windowsill and they will continue to ripen. So this one here has been left a little bit longer, and that one has now ripened since it's been removed from the plant. You can see it's starting to go a little bit soft as well. Once they have reached the colour that you're happy with them being, then at that point you can give them a bit of a wash and just let them completely dry, and then freeze them whole. So you don't need to chop them up or anything like that. They can literally just go in the freezer as they are and remove one at a time as and when you need them. That's probably the easiest way to preserve them. And then the next method is actually to use some string and to string them up and to let them air dry. This is a method that I really like. It's obviously doesn't cost anything electricity wise or anything like that, and they're actually quite pretty decorational wise as well. You are going to want some more sturdy thread and a decent needle in order to push through each of these stalks as well. Other than using a thread, you could also use a wire, like a floristry wire, and do exactly the same job with that. This is thicker thread, but I'm still going to double it up because I don't want any issues with it snapping. And I'm going to get quite a lot of thread in order for it to hang above our fireplace, because that's the best place for me of where they're going to dry. And then all we're going to do is actually poke the needle through the stalk area and run them down the thread. Be careful that we don't end up with a load of knots as we do this. Okay. They will obviously continue ripening in this way as well, so you don't necessarily need to wait for them to completely ripen. I like to leave a little bit of space, maybe a centimetre between each one. So that's what it looks like at the moment. But what they will do is dry and shrivel up. So we want to keep this now in an area with plenty of air and a little bit of heat to make sure that these dry out rather than mould. And then all I'm going to be doing is adding more as they are harvested. Once I have added all of the chilies to this and they have dried out, one of the things that I will be doing with these is turning them into chili flakes or chili spice, just grinding them up into a mixer or taking them and just grinding them into meals as we need them. Other recipes that I will be using these chilies for includes chili jam and then also cowboy candy. Cowboy candy is usually done with jalapenos, but I am going to give these a go and see how they do with that. I would imagine they'll be okay, although it might be a little bit hotter. And then also things like chili sauce as well. You could also do harissa paste and things like that. So it really depends on what you might use in your cooking and how you might enjoy preserving them from there. If you do want any information on any of those recipes or for me to go through any of them, then please do let me know. That's something I'm more than happy to do. Going forward, these chilies aren't really going to like temperatures at night that are below 10 Celsius. So if you've got them in a polytunnel or an undercover space, then you're usually going to be that little bit more protected. And I'm now starting to close my polytunnel door in order to make sure that it's a little bit warmer for them. We actually have a heated bench in here as well, so I will be trying to keep them going for that little bit longer. And the ones outside, they will just be harvested that little bit sooner and as soon as they're not really doing anything more. On the next video, we will be looking at how we can actually take seeds from these ready to grow for next year, and that is based on the fact that I have isolated some, so check out the video before if you're not sure whether or not you can do that. And then the other thing we'll be doing is actually talking about how to overwinter these. Our chili plants are actually perennials, so there is no reason why you can't overwinter them. It's not something that I do, but we'll be going over why and how to do it if it's something that you would like to do yourself. If you're not planning to save any seeds or overwinter your plants, then the only thing you really need to think about now is making sure that you harvest all of the fruit off of these before our first frost comes. And up till then, just keeping them protected and fleecing them if you're trying to prolong them as long as possible before that happens.